Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Coffee and Headlines. This is our daily get-together live here on Facebook at 10:30 in the morning every single day, where we exchange headlines, topics, thoughts, ideas, comments, suggestions, tips to enjoy the best possible life here in Puerto Vallarta as an English-speaking community. If you're new to these broadcasts, my name is Paco, and we would love to welcome you properly. So if you're new, just write the word new in your comments, and that way we will give you a proper welcome. Also, if you have any specific questions that you would like to share during the broadcast, please add the letter Q at the beginning of your question, and we'll try to get to it during the broadcast, and if not, shortly thereafter. I'm sitting here, as always, with my dear assistant, Luna, who is very busy right now taking notes of everything that's going on. Right, Luna? Are you awake? Yes, you are awake. Luna is taking notes to make sure that at the end of each broadcast, you have all the headlines and all the URLs and all the links to all the things that we discuss at your disposal. We call them show notes. And it's great to see friends that visit with us on a regular basis or pretty regularly. And I'm going to make a confession today. You see, I look at your names, and some of your names are absolutely wonderful, and some of your names are absolutely fabulous. And I must confess to Lisa that I've had a crush on your last name ever since I read it for the first time. Your last name is just absolutely beautiful. I have no idea what it means, but it looks so mysterious and wonderful. I want a last name like that at some point in my life. It's raining in Sun City, Arizona. Good to hear, Judy. It's great to see folks from all over the place. Good morning, Terry. And of course, Paul joins us from Boston, which I find absolutely endearing because although Paul is a frequent visitor to Puerto Vallarta, he's not necessarily invested in our town as a local, and yet he is here just about every morning. So how nice that people like Paul also join us because they want to build ties with our city. Dan tells us that the Tour de France is over. That is very sad because there's so much eye candy in that tour. It's not even funny, but I'm glad that you're joining us in real time now that you have taken over your television set again. Yay, lots of people. This is wonderful. So today we're going to continue with our usual set of news. And oh yes, let's get back to this during the leisurely section, Kathleen, because I watched it last night and I have all kinds of commentary about it. But first, let's tackle a few news. We have some news about some change of hearts that CDC in the United States had, and we have some more news about the governor's visit to Puerto Vallarta, and I think I might have to sneeze. Oh, that was good. I think I got to the mute button on time. The only one that was startled was Luna, I hope. Anyhow, we have great news to share with you, some leisurely stuff, and another history lesson that I find extremely timely for these days that we're going through. So let us just jump into the news by hitting the magic button. And here we go. Oh, thank you for the bless me's. So the CDC raised some eyebrows because they pulled away guidance about coronavirus spreading through tiny aerosol particles. You see, we believe or we know that COVID-19 spreads through tiny droplets called aerosols and not through the larger beads of spit and phlegm that enter the air from coughing and sneezing. So when the CDC confirmed this in a guidance, in a guideline this past week, the rest of the health related community around the world said, "Well, this is good." But then they changed their guideline unexpectedly and said that it was a mistake that they published this. And needless to say, in the United States, where there's so much uncertainty surrounding the elections and whether President Trump is undermining the health authorities or not, some people suspect that there may have been some foul play in this change of hearts. The World Health Organization has not changed its policy on aerosol transmission of the coronavirus. So there is some discrepancy there that is making some people feel a little bit concerned about this. On other news, Anthony Fauci said on television exactly when and how to wear a face mask and when you don't need it, in case you were wondering. He talked about taking precautions in restaurants, outdoors, and more on The Daily Show. I will leave you the link to this video, but in a nutshell, he mentions you don't need to wear a face mask when you're riding your bicycle on the street, but you should have it in case you come into close contact with people. As for restaurants, you should take off your mask to eat, obviously, but put it back on between courses because there is enough movement of people around you. So this is information that we already know, but it's information that never hurts to be reminded of. In other news, the flu season is upon us, and the government of Jalisco has the intention of deploying and distributing over 2 million flu vaccines starting on the 15th of October. That's when the season officially begins. Needless to say, the first priority will be given to children under 6 months of age, or it's children from 6 months to 5 years of age, senior citizens, that is citizens over 60 years of age, pregnant women, and people that suffer from respiratory diseases or diseases like cancer, asthma, or heart diseases of one kind or another. The application will be available starting on September 15. We also learn that one of the other things that Governor Davalos was here to do during his visit is to deliver the construction of the new security offices for the city. In Spanish, we use the word comisaria. I know that the word commissary in English has a different connotation, but this is where the new offices of security are going to be located in Ixtapa, and this is where the city is going to install its new vigilance center with all the video cameras that are being installed or are being repaired around the city so that we have better security in the city. The mayor of the city mentioned that right now we have 65 surveillance cameras in the city that will be connected to this new control center, and the goal is to reach 100 cameras, surveillance cameras around Puerto Vallarta, including cameras at the entrances and exits to the municipality, in the primary throughways, which will allow a better coordination in terms of security. We also learned that there's a new bar in Marina Vallarta. Apparently, in one of the new buildings that was finished recently, there is a new rooftop bar called Vela 100. I never heard of this before. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I correct myself. The building is called Vela 100, and the rooftop bar is called Rooftop 360. But apparently, this Rooftop 360 does not even have authorization to operate, according to the news note that we have here. So the residents of Marina Vallarta have submitted complaints for excess noise at late hours of the night, and a formal letter has been sent to the municipality so that this particular new bar can or will be shut down. I haven't been, it's brand new. From the photo, it looks like it would be a lovely rooftop bar to look at the surroundings. But if the bar is so high up and they can still hear the noise that the bar is making at street level, I can imagine that it must be pretty freaking loud. So we'll have to see what happens with this bar. If anybody has been there and can tell us a little bit about it, we would welcome any comments that you may have. If not, let us continue on with the news. We've been reporting about Carnival and the cruises coming back. And I ran into this headline that says that Carnival Cruise Lines is laying off some of its crew members a week after announcing it is selling some of its fleet. This is unfortunate for Carnival, and of course, it's unfortunate for all the cruise industry in general. We don't see any specific information here about cruises resuming. The article does say that the CDC is currently enforcing a no sale order until at least the end of this month. So this would prohibit any cruise ships that are able to carry more than 250 passengers from setting sail from the United States. So the bottom line about cruise ships in Mexico seems to be that we need to wait until the guidance that are delivered by the guidelines that are delivered by the CDC to be updated. And of course, we'll have to see if and when this happens. Let me take a quick look at your comments. You have comments about CDC and Trump. Simply and accurately put, Michael, I wish I could sail through life with that level of accuracy. Of course, I don't have access to all the information like you do, so I cannot agree or disagree with this. It is unfortunate that it looks as you may be right in your assessment, but again, without being in the room where Trump is issuing specific mandates and things like that, it really is difficult to say, but it does look not very good. Terry just discovered Linio. Oh, Terry, watch your budget. Linio is a shopping website that you wanna be careful, because you're gonna end up spending as much money there as you do in Amazon or other websites. Please do a walking tour of Marina Vallarta. It is on the list. Do I have an opinion on Magic Market in PV? Every Friday looks wonderful. I don't have an opinion, Linda. I haven't been, so I don't know what it is about. I don't know what it's being sold. I don't know who the target market is. I don't know whether it's making a big difference or not. So as soon as I see some headlines about it, Linda, I will be happy to let you know. I'm glad that we have a volunteer to investigate the new bar. Let's hope that you don't get clausurado along with the bar. Let's see. Can I please explain more on what the... And, oh, there you go. What and where is the Magic Market? The Magic Market is part of the new maritime terminal, which is called Puerto Mágico. It is, as I understand it, it is a new maritime terminal, and it is the first one that allows regular folks like you and I to access. Unlike a bus terminal or the airport, where you can go in and out. I mean, not that we would ever want to just go and hang out at the terminal at the airport if we wanted to. The new maritime terminal has attractions and amenities designed for regular people to enjoy. I don't know exactly what those amenities are, but I do know that as of recent weeks, it was announced that they had started some kind of market. I don't know if it is a farmer's market or other kind of artisan market, but it is there. I haven't been. But once the whole thing is completed, it is expected that it will offer cruise passengers a much more a much warmer welcome and more things to do and more things to discover just from the moment in which um, they get off the cruise ship. Um, Again, Magic Market is something that has been in trouble, I suppose, because the cruise industry is in trouble. But I see that some of you are putting uh, your comments here, and those are very, very helpful, including some links. One from Vallarta Today that shows that music market continues to grow, so we can all find uh, some answers there. Raymond claims that there are over 100 vendors in live entertainment. I suppose we're going to have to go and check it out on our own. But before we do that, let us take a quick look at our weather and move on to other leisurely things that we have ready for you. And when I say we, I mean Luna and myself. 27 degrees Celsius feels like 31. It's 81 degrees Fahrenheit. We have high humidity again, 92%. There is a 9% chance of rain at this very moment, and we can expect possible light rain in the afternoon and evening today. We also can expect humidity and a mostly cloudy day during the day tomorrow. And then Thursday, it'll be humid and partly cloudy through the day as well. It is almost the end of September. We're totally halfway through the hot and humid season, which we know will go away mysteriously overnight sometime in October. We are getting to that point in which many of us have had enough rain, many of us have had enough humidity, and we're just ready for whatever is coming up. A few days ago, I mentioned that Taco Bell is launching their own line of wine, jalapeno something. I forget what it was. And I look forward to tasting it. A couple of you have volunteered to bring a bottle or have offered to bring a bottle because it's only available in Canada. And today I learned that Burger King is launching what they're calling the Tamarindo King here in Mexico. And they're going to launch this new hamburger, which will have a publicity campaign that invites people to dare to try it. And there will be some references to the famous divers in La Quebrada in Acapulco who would dare one another or who continue to dare one another to dive into the ocean from some high cliffs. So this new burger is going to be available sometime in the near future. I suppose we're just going to have to try it and see what it is about. I also want to let you know that there is a festival announced for this weekend to celebrate what is it? It's an International River Day, and there's going to be a festival on Sunday at Los Horcones River to continue to create some pressure against those developers that are trying to build a dam on the river. The festival will be free, and the organizers are inviting all the population to attend and to learn more about what is going on. Of course, this being one of those very useful news items that are published in the local press, this doesn't tell you where the festival is going to be. And because I just picked this one up this morning, I didn't have enough time to figure out where the festival is going to be, but it is only Tuesday. I am sure that between now and Sunday, we will be able to find some more details. So I will be keeping my eyes open in case you want to go to an outdoor festival and learn more about this important situation. Then I read about this news item, and this makes me totally perplexed, and this just pushes my buttons in so many ways, because there is apparently a renowned photographer in town, and his name is Arturo Pasos. Well, Arturo Pasos has been documenting our destination for years and through his photographs, and now it turns out that he has over 30,000 images in slides and negatives of the history of Puerto Vallarta, and he is asking for help in finding any kind of cultural department or anybody with resources to digitize all these images, because all these slides and negatives are being stored here in Puerto Vallarta at what is the regular weather or regular humidity level. And this is bound to create some long-term damage to these slides and negatives. And here is, for example, check out this image of Marina Vallarta. I don't recognize these buildings, but I do see the airport landing strips behind it. So these are two buildings in Marina Vallarta. I don't know exactly which. I think, oh my God, I think that's the Marriott Hotel, actually. Yes, because this is Paseo de la Marina over here. And that would be the beginning of the Marriott Hotel when it was being built. So it is always bittersweet to learn about these bits of history that get lost because we don't have a way to protect them, and it is truly unfortunate. Eric says, "Can you send me the photographer's contact info? We might be interested in helping with that practice." You see, that's the thing, Eric. The thing here, and if I may just throw my 2 cents, is how wonderful it would be that somebody or a group or an entity would make it possible for these slides to be digitized, but to make the digital images readily available to anyone who is interested in researching the history of Puerto Vallarta. So Eric, I can give you as much information as there is. It'll be in the show notes, but apparently Arturo Pasos Munoz is the person that made the plea. He is the photographer. He posted something in one of his social media outlets. So what I'll do is I'll try to find what his Facebook page is, or what his Twitter link is, so that somebody will hopefully be able to help out with this. I mean, I would certainly love to get a hold of some of these images, just because of all the research work that we do in trying to unravel all the history of Puerto Vallarta. Joe asks, question, do you have history about 1918 pandemic in Vallarta? I personally don't, but I will be happy to research. Catherine says, it sounds like a job for the Puerto Vallarta City archivists. You know, lately, Catherine, I've started to do some research on the role of the cronista of the city, because by law, and I found the law in the City Hall archives, there is a person that gets paid to document the city, the cronista of the city. And by law, this person has to, you know, keep track of the comings and goings of the city. But there really isn't a place where you or I or anyone as a regular citizen can go to City Hall and say, okay, so I'd like to consult the history of Puerto Vallarta for the year 1965. Can you show me the book, or can you show me the tome, or can you show me the link? So I've become increasingly curious about this particular topic, because you'd think that the city would have the resources to do this, but somehow I doubt it. Anyhow, I put this at the end of the show today because this has a very direct connection with the episode, the history of the Mexican history episode that I want to share with you today. So let me put myself in Mexican history mode very quickly, because we want to make sure that I'm ready to go. Hold on just a second. Cue the presentation, cue the notes, and there we go. A la una, a las dos, going once, going twice, bam. So it is the 1500s, and Tenochtitlan, the city over which Mexico City was eventually built, was quite a happening place. It had a population of over 230,000 at the most conservative calculation. And this means that at the time, it was larger than Constantinople, Paris, or Venice. The Aztec society was highly complex and stratified. There were kings, there were nobles, there were generals, there were priests, peasants, and slaves, even before the Spanish conquistadors arrived. When it came to protecting the kingdom, the Aztec military elite consisted of caballeros águila or eagle warriors and caballeros jaguar or jaguar warriors. So all teenage boys were expected to grow up to become one of these two types of warriors. So think about Tenochtitlan as this very well put together city, population over 200,000, and they had their society, their hierarchies, and of course they had their security. Now, history tells us that Spanish conquistador Hernan Cortes sailed from Cuba to conquer Mexico in 1518. He was ordered by the New Spain governor Diego Velázquez, who was chilling out in Cuba, and from Cuba he was overseeing that all the lands that were discovered were to become part of New Spain. So we know that Spanish conquistador Hernan Cortes first landed in the Yucatan Peninsula, and by the following year, he claimed the land for the Spanish crown. Now, at that time, he was told, well, you've landed in the Yucatan. What you really need to do is head over to Azteclandia, and it is the Aztecs that you have to beat because they are the ones that are really controlling the whole operation. So he headed for Tenochtitlan in 1519. Now, history tells us, or history lessons, or elementary school tells us that the Spanish conquistador Hernan Cortes sailed from Cuba to conquer Mexico in 1518. He was ordered by this man, and he, showed up and conquered. And he defeated without any problem. But we don't get any detail on this story. So let's take a quick look at what was going on at the time, because Cortes was traveling with 518 soldiers, 16 horsemen, 13 gunmen, 32 crossbow crew, 110 marines, 36 horses, 16 for cargo, 10 bronze cannons, and 4 falconets. So he had a total of 688 and 89 men at his disposal. So there is a disconnect between having this number of soldiers and the population, because when you think about it, let us assume that a conservative guess is that Tenochtitlan had 230,000 inhabitants. Let us assume that out of those 230,000, let's say that some 60,000 of them were adult males that were ready to fight a fight. So when you start looking at the numbers, things don't add up, because if you had 60,000 divided by 689, that means that each Spaniard warrior or conquistador had to defeat 87 Aztecs. Now, granted, we know that they had powder and they had guns and stuff like that. So let us assume that one lucky Spaniard shoots one Aztec. That means that he still has 86 Aztecs to shoot. And let us not undermine the possibility that a bunch of Aztecs with rocks and obsidian tips and all that stuff, I mean, if you have 85 people throwing rocks at you, you're not going to fare too well. So somehow this does not add up, And we are told by history books and by our teachers in elementary school that ultimately we were defeated because we were inferior to the Spanish. And this is something that is repeated over and over again in history books, and somehow has a long-lasting effect on the mindset of the Mexican civilization as we've become. The fact that we were defeated because we were inferior. In reality, there are two things that were important factors that contributed to the conquest. And these things are not frequently mentioned in history books. This is the path that Cortes followed on his way to Tenochtitlan. From the Yucatan Peninsula, he sailed to the state of Veracruz and landed there. And along the way, he made alliances with other indigenous tribes that joined his fleet. So that when he arrived in Tenochtitlan, there were already more people in his army. But even this is not enough to cover or to reconcile a little detail that is frequently overlooked in history books, and that would be our dear friend Pánfilo de Narváez. Now, Pánfilo de Narváez was another conquistador. We don't talk about him that much, but as it turns out, when Cortés sailed from Cuba to conquer Mexico, ordered by New Spain governor Diego Velázquez in 1508, the governor had a change of heart at the very last minute. And he said to Cortés, no, don't go. No conquering today. But Cortés sailed regardless. He disobeyed orders, and 2 years later, Pánfilo de Narváez was ordered to sail to Mexico to stop Cortés from doing whatever he thought he was going to do and capture him dead or alive. But there was a small little glitch in Pánfilo de Narváez's expedition. One of his African slaves had smallpox. And smallpox is a disease that did not exist in the Americas, as William very accurately pointed. So by the time this happened in 1521, by the time Cortés arrived in Tenochtitlan, the population, half of the population had already died due to the disease and not due to the conquistadors' weaponry. So beyond the conquest of Tenochtitlan, which was not really because we were weak, it had a lot to do with the fact that the Spanish brought smallpox with them. But beyond the conquest in 1521, the biological warfare continued relentless. There were other epidemics that returned in 1531, 1545, 1564, and 1576, And by this time, the indigenous population of New Spain went from 25 million to less than 2 million at the beginning of the 17th century. And that is not even throwing syphilis into the equation, which is another disease that the Spaniards brought to New Spain when they arrived. So this is another one of those interesting episodes. We can say that pizza became a reality because the Spaniards brought tomatoes back to Europe and eventually to Italy. So we can say that Mexico's responsible for pizza, but then we can also say that it is unfortunate that through all these centuries we are taught that the Aztecs were weak, when in reality it had a lot to do with another epidemic. And I thought you would be interested in learning about this, and I thought it was quite timely given the fact that we are in the middle of an epidemic. Let us hope that our epidemic is not necessarily as devastating as the epidemic that the Aztecs, along with other indigenous tribes, suffered in the 1500s. And that is the end of our little Mexican Viva Mexico episode for today. Yay! Now, let me take a quick look at your comments. Boom, 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 boom. There are lots of links to the photographer. Thank you very much. So, Eric, you should be all set. I will still put the information in the show notes. Pilar chimes in on this whole conversation. And I wonder if you, Pilar, have any insight as to the Cronista de la Ciudad. I mean, I am just so curious about putting together a big timeline of Puerto Vallarta's history. And in theory, it should be as easy as looking at big books that have like the guidelines or the highlights of everything that has happened, and just taking those into a project, a research project that I would love to undertake. But something tells me that when I walk into City Hall and I ask to see the Cronista de la Ciudad, it won't be that simple. Um, Angelica wants to hear about the Malinche. And this is yet another fascinating episode of Mexican history. For those of you that don't know, the Malinche was a Mexican native that had a romantic to do with Hernan Cortes, and in fact became the mother of one of his children. And she is remembered in history as the one who translated between Cortes and the natives that were in Mexico. And again, it is an interesting story to share. I will add it to my list. It is believed that Cortes was mistaken as a god. Well, here's the thing: a lot of there is legends among the Aztecs that spoke about a white god that would come to conquer. And yes, the fact that there were these legends among the Aztecs helped to contribute to their perception of the conquistadors as being these holier than you creatures, and that didn't help. But again, the numbers just don't add up. And there were 2 years between the time in which Cortes arrived in Tenochtitlan and the time in which Cortes conquered Tenochtitlan. So during those 2 years, a lot of things could have happened that we simply don't know about. And that is the sad irony of history. You know, we, in these kinds of presentations, we jump through years like we're stepping on mud, and overlooking the fact that as we walk through history by huge leaps of decades and sometimes hundreds of years, we are unable to look at all the little details of history that reveal truths or subtleties that we may not otherwise have access to. Anyhow, let's see. Thank you very much for your compliments. Thank you very much, Marie. I wish I had been my own history teacher. And more compliments. Thank you very much. And I'm going to tell you, Barb, there's a great book, The Conquest of New Spain, written by Bernal Diaz del Castillo. It is an interesting book, but a lot of times these people that wrote these interesting books, hold on, excuse me, we're not necessarily telling the truth as we have come to realize it. So that's where I have fun researching other books that have to do with Mexican history as it actually went, based on other sources. So it is always interesting to see the comparison in different versions of history. Eric, I'm so glad that you already sent me a message. If something good comes out of it, Eric, please let us know so we can document it. And if it involves coming up with some kind of fund to sponsor this endeavor, please let me know, because I would love to be a contributor to this particular project if it lands in your hands. The Aztecs lost all the veneer. Yes, the Aztecs lost for all kinds of things. There were a lot of factors. Chef Cali's volunteers books on PV. Thank you very much. I may take you up. And Pilar says there is a cronista. I know there is a cronista, Pilar. I know the name of the cronista. I just don't know that I can make an appointment with the city historian and say, well, can you give me the book or the folder or the file that corresponds to a specific year or a specific incident, and so forth and so on. It'll be so much fun to research that at some point. Let's see. Boom. I guess we're up to speed with all the comments, and thank you very much for your final comment, Eric. Please keep me in the loop. This is fascinating stuff for me, and I am so glad that you enjoy the history lessons. I think we're going to continue looking at other history aspects of Mexico after the month of September, because we've barely scratched the surface in terms of different eras of our history that may be of interest to you. But again, this is the end of Coffee and Headlines for today, Tuesday. And as always, I am grateful for your company, and I am grateful for your feedback as to what kinds of things you are interested in, and that gives me even more incentive to be doing research to bring it to you. It makes us a more informed community, and it certainly helps my brain cells from rusting and getting all cranky in old age. Thank you very much for being with us today, and I hope that today is going to be a great day for you. I hope you'll stay happy and safe and hungry, and that you go eat something wonderful. I'm hoping to go eat something wonderful later on today. I have a photo shoot in the afternoon, so I'm excited about that. So stay happy, stay kind, stay generous, stay in touch, and hopefully come back soon. Have a great day.